Hello everyone, hoping that you can hear me and see me okay. This is the standard sound check. If everything's coming through okay, if someone could just pop a comment in the live chat and let me know, that would be fantastic. And assuming everything is working okay, I'll see you at past. Catch you then. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to In Studio Live, the 39th edition. We're looking at home abstracts tonight. So welcome to the show. Hopefully I've greeted as many people as I could in the live chat while we've been waiting to start. And it's good to be back with you all, and great to see so many of you online already. So let's get started, shall we? First thing to say, if you're new here, please take a moment to go and subscribe to the channel. That'll really help. Well, it'll help me, but it will also help you so that you get notified when we go live and when there's new videos going up there and things to help your photography in general. So go and take the moment to do that, and don't forget to hit the little bell icon so you get those notifications. If you're watching this on a replay, please stick a comment in the comments down below so that I know flipping fly, so that I know it's been watched on a replay. And I thank you to those of you who did that this week on there. Nice to get those comments pop up as notifications during the week to know that that people are actually watching. And my usual appeal at this point: go hit that like button. It helps send the signal to YouTube that people like what I'm doing here, and hopefully they'll promote the videos a little bit more. I think it's been making a difference, so go hit it now. And we've still got a target of 12 likes by the end of the intro to beat. Now my stats are telling me that we've only got 9 at the moment, so we need 3 more. We've got 14 concurrent viewers, so, or is it 15, depending which of the stats you believe on my screen. So do go and hit the like button now if you haven't done so already. That's strange, that shouldn't make a noise when I press that key. Never mind, we'll carry on anyway. I'll work out what that's all about later. And do let people know about the show, because I really appreciate those of you who have been sharing details of it. Right, let's see. Mine is saying 10. We appear to have 10 likes, and in the chat people are saying 10 or 11. So, right, well, we might get to 12 yet. Come on, let's see. So, a little bit of background to the shows. Yeah, they are weekly shows, Sunday nights at 7:30. They stay up on YouTube for a while. They are getting cut down and put into for YouTube, and more content going on to the Academy, both as the full version. Eventually, I've got some up there as the full version. But I'm also taking out sections and putting them into, well, it's a new feature that has been released called courses. And those of you who got the presets mail out during the week will have seen what that looks like with the code to get in there. So I'm able to put in the presets and the video training as well, extracted from last week's live stream. So hopefully that's been helpful to you on it. So yeah, they are going to get cut down eventually here on YouTube, but they will stay up for a while. So if you're watching this on replay and you think, why have I missed the previous 38 of them? Well, go and have a look at the older ones sooner rather than later, because they are going to get chopped down just as soon as I get the chance to do it, and then there'll just be the extracts up there. So how does it all work? Well, it's a live show. I'm monitoring the chat here, which is now, apparently we've got 12 likes, although mine only said, yes, it's just gone up to 12 on my screen as well. We've equaled the record. One more, folks, one more like, and we've beaten the record for the week. Sorry, right. Yeah, ask questions in the live chat. I've got a few opportunities within the show to answer your questions. Yep, we're up to 13 likes according to both the live chat and my stats. Wonderful, wonderful. Right, anyway, ask the questions there. I do try and deal with them. If you can't ask the question because you're in the live chat because you're not live or because you're you don't have access to it, then you can always email me during the week and I will pick those up. In fact, I've got 2 questions this week, both of which came in from email during the week, or you can put them in the comments if you're watching on the replay, and I do deal with all of those on there. If you like the show, as well as just hitting that like button, we are up to 14 likes. If you do like it, you find it helpful, and you want to support what I'm doing, I've set up a thing called BuyMeACoffee, I'm calling it. It's actually run by the people who do BuyMeACoffee, which is an established website which a lot of YouTubers use to get that little bit of extra income, to try and support what they're doing, because it does cost. And photography training is how I make my living. So if you want to say thank you in a financial way, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You could join my academy, and my academy, that's one way. It's a regular thing, so think about that. But if you just want the one-off donation, just to say thank you because a particular show has struck a chord with you or whatever, there's the link over my shoulder. It's also down below, and you can just make a micro donation there. And I do want to try and say thank you to everyone who's done that. And this week's cup of tea has come from Gary Platt. So cheers, Gary. Thanks for the cuppa. Really appreciate it. Cheers. And those who've not had your name on the mug yet, it will come. I've got a list of everyone. I'm working through the list week by week on there. So thank you for that. And apparently we're up to 15 likes now. This is wonderful. It's going to be hard work next week to beat it. I do want to say thank you to everyone who's supporting the show in whatever way you are. And this week's, I've got a little thank you. One of the things that I produced early on for my Academy members was a whole set of, I call them inspiration sheets. The idea is that they should inspire you to photograph a particular topic and have a go at it on there. And I don't have one on home abstracts, but I've got 2 which sort of cover that sort of ground a little bit. One is all on household objects, and the other is about photographing food. And particularly, I deal with abstracts within that. So anyone who buys me a cuppa this week will get copies of those. If you're already an Academy member, you've got access to the whole lot anyway. But anyone else, you'll get those. And the way it all works is that every cup of tea you buy, I'm treating as a tea credit. I'm keeping a log of it, and anyone who is in credit with their teas will get this. So if you bought me a number of cuppas in a couple of weeks ago, you've probably still got some credits. I'll be sending them out in the next day or so you get those. But other than that, anyone who buys me a cup of tea between now and next Saturday will get both of those. And they're only short, but they're packed with information. They're 4 pages long, all about those 2 topics. So it's a grand total of 8 pages PDF. It's just a little way of me saying thank you for the support for the show, because I really do appreciate it. It does make a lot of difference to me. Oh, and hello, Robin, who's just joined the live chat. Right. So let's move on. Yeah, Facebook groups. I think all of you, or most of you, are already a member of my Facebook group. The link's over my shoulder. That's where we carry on the conversation. It's where I pull images to talk about on the show from. So do get involved there. And just one thing to say about the Facebook group. I've been trying to take a little bit of a back seat on the feedback within the group recently, because I want to try and encourage you as members, and particularly those of you who tune in here regularly, to be providing feedback on each other's images about what works and other techniques which could be done. I know some of you are doing that, and that is absolutely brilliant. I noticed that someone had taken the time to try and edit on Anthony's, one of Anthony's images during the week. So thank you for doing that. But I would like to encourage everyone, because one of the things I can tell you is you learn more about photography. There's three ways of learning with photography. One is to sit down, watch the videos, read the books and do all that, and you will learn. But that's not as effective as actually getting out there with your camera and making photos. But there is a third way that everyone forgets, and that is having to explain and provide feedback on other images. Because if you see it in somebody else's image and you put it down in words, either verbally, as I'm doing, or as written form, that cements it in the brain, and you will learn the lesson from that, so that when you're next making an image and that lesson applies, you'll think about it, because you've actually told somebody else about it, because you've seen that, not necessarily as a mistake, but as a thing that they could do to improve. So I really want to encourage you all to get involved with providing feedback to each other within that Facebook group. Right, so please share your photos on there, and I'm setting a theme. I'll tell you what the theme for the coming week is at the end of the live stream, as ever. Peter Saltiel is saying, are we allowed to comment on your into photos? If you mean, are you allowed to comment on my photos? Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I am not above anybody else. And the time if I ever get to a point where I don't want to receive feedback, then you guys must tell me, because that is wrong. We all learn. I need to learn as much as you. And I'll tell you that any of my stuff, you can always provide feedback on there. And I'm more than happy for that. I learn so much from the photos that you guys post. There's techniques that I'm seeing in there. I'm thinking, I would never have thought of that in a million years. So, yeah, do comment on my stuff as well. My intro photos, I think talking about the ones that are playing as the countdown's going before we go live. Yes, you can comment on those as well. Right, I've got a comment here. Thank you. Does the red sign distract from the archers? The red sign. I'm not quite sure which photo that is. Is that my nighttime viaduct one, or is it something else? I'm not sure on that one. You might have to send me a message, Peter, for clarification on that. I'll pick it up later. Right, okay, moving on. There is something else you might have noticed about the Facebook group. I was playing around last night with the Facebook banner, and you may have seen various ones get uploaded and deleted and edited and things like that on it. And that's because I put up a temporary cover image. Why is it temporary? Because I want to change what's on that cover image. It was a sort of montage of my photos, but the more I've been thinking about it, the Facebook group, it might be my Facebook group, it might be associated with my business, but I don't want it to be about me. I want that Facebook group to be about you guys and about your photography and improving your images. So it's really you, it should be one of your images that's up there. So each week I'm going to pick one image that's been on the Facebook group that week, and I'm going to make that into the banner for the week. I've already chosen the one for the coming week, and if you stick with the the live stream till the end, I will be revealing whose image it is that will be on the Facebook group for the next 7 days on there. So that will all be shown at the end of the live stream. Right, moving on. I have a newsletter as well. There's the link. What's the link? It's also down below if you want to sign up for that. So what have we got on the show this week? I hope I edited this. Yep, I've got some Q&A from Terry on there. A couple of things to talk about. I've got 2 of the Lockdown 20 slideshows. I'll talk about those later. We're going to be looking at home abstracts, and I'm going to go through some example images and talk about how I created them, hopefully to inspire you to have a go at some of these yourself. And in fact, I've been inspired by a lot of the ones that you guys have posted during the week. I have to say, and that's not just PR. I genuinely have on there. And I'm going to do some feedback on them about things which work and a few suggestions on there. And of course, we've got the live Q&A. I've had one come in from Gary, which I'll try and pick up when we get to the Q&A. So, have we beaten the record on the number of likes? Well, mine is saying 15 on here. Somebody else said it was 16. So I'm going to take your word for it, Peter, that we are currently at 16 likes. It's a new record for this stage in the show. So let's see if we can beat that one next week. Right. Okay, Q&A. How does it work? Add your questions to the chat. There is a delay. Actually, some of you are responding pretty quickly tonight, so I don't think the delay is as long as it has been in the past. Or you can email me during the week, and there's my public email address. So Q&A. I got asked a question by Terry, and the question was, what to use collections for in Lightroom beyond a list of images, and can I advise on how to organize or name collections? And the answer to that is yes, I can. Okay, so collections. I'm going to do it very briefly now, Terry. I think this is one that's worth me covering in more detail on a live stream in the future. What do we use them for? Well, over and above anything else, the main use is literally a list of images. It's a way of pulling images together across different folders and different parts of the Lightroom catalogue. Now, is it just that list? What do I use them for? Right, well, I use them for various things. I use them, so for example, if I was preparing for, when I was preparing for tonight's show, I wanted to find all the images or a good set of images that I could use within this within the PowerPoint presentation, which is part of the show. So as I was going through Lightroom, I knew the sort of images I want. I'd set up a collection. I'd made it my target collection within Lightroom, and a target collection is a sort of a default one, and you do that by right-clicking on the name of the collection. And then anytime you're on an image, if you hit B, it will add it to the target collection or remove it if it's already in there. So you do have to be careful you don't get a double bounce on your keyboard, because I've had that before now. And images I thought I'd put in, I clearly got a double bounce and they got missed. So it's a way of pulling them together from across different folders. Now that's a great way, that's the primary way I use collections. But there are other ways of using collections. And the real power of collections are what's called smart collections, where you can set up a series of rules which will pull images together that match a criteria. So you could have a rule which said all the images from 2020 which have got a star rating of 3 or above. And you set that up as a rule. It will find them all, put them all together to save you having to hunt through. So you could do that. You could set up a rule which says, I want to see all the images which have got a pick flag on them, but don't have a star rating. Because the way I use Lightroom is I go through, before I edit them, I go through the collection and go pick, 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 to choose the ones I want to work on. And then once I have done finished the edit on it, I then choose the star rating. So I know that anything that's got a pick flag but no star rating is an image that is waiting to be developed. So setting up a smart collection will allow me to find just those images. So there's a lot of ways you can do it like that. The next part of Terry's question was, how do I organize them? Well, you can create groups. And within those groups you can have collections. You can collapse them and expand them. Right, probably the easiest way is to show you actually. If I just go over to Lightroom on here, once I've found what I'm looking for, I can then show you in just a moment. Yep. Okay. Right. So, wish I knew why that was beeping when I'm changing screens. Anyway, here we are in Lightroom. I'm just going to go full screen so you can see it's a little bit better. It's beeping again. Right. So over here we've got collections. Now, because this is my review catalogue, I've not got many in here. But you can see here I've got the group, the quirky portraits ones in here, which I've just pulled together from various sources. And to make that my target one, I would simply right click on it, set as target. And now you can see I've got this little circle at the top of each of the images. And that means it's in the target collection. So I can then click on that to remove it. I'm just going to do Control-Z to put that one back. Or if I'd gone somewhere else, there's a smart collection saying anything in the past month. Now, these are all going to be past month because they've been uploaded from there. They've got the dates from Facebook on there. But you can see as I hover over an image, I've got the option to then click on that and add it into the smart collection on there, or I can hit the B key and that will add an image. So if I've got that as my current one, hit the B, it adds it, and hit the B again, it removes it. So you can see that's how you would do it. I don't actually have a naming convention for collections. It's something I've been thinking about developing. Once I have, this is why I said I'll probably do it as a section in another live stream. Once I've got that, I can then do a session about how my naming convention will work and a few other tips and tricks. Here's, for example, a smart collection. Gary was visiting my studio a few weeks ago to have his laptop color calibrated, and I wanted to have access to his photos that I pulled in from Facebook for part of the live stream. So what I did, I created a smart collection in here just to find Gary's photos. And how does that work? If I double click it, open it up, because as you've probably realized, folks, the way I work as I download them from Facebook to pull in for critiquing, for the feedback session, I name the files with the photographer's name. So all I had to do was to create a rule which said the file name contains Platt, and that pulls all Gary's images together. So that's another powerful way of doing it. What else can I tell you about them? yeah, you've just got different ways of pulling things together. I mean, here I created a group because I was going to talk through how to pull these together as a print, one of the sessions. So I just pulled them together into there. So they're really not organized terribly well in here because my review catalog really isn't anything more than something that I do fairly temporarily on there. I appear to have got an Alamy set on there. Oh yeah, those are created by a plugin on that. So that's a bit of the information that I can give you, Terry, on that question. Hope that helps with some of it. I know I've probably not covered everything, but I'll deal with a bit more on that on a future live stream to talk a little bit more about collections in Lightroom. So moving on. All right, the Lockdown 20 challenge. For when I set it, I said the aim of the challenge was 20 images on 20 or at least 20 consecutive days. Some of you have now done the 20 days, have decided to stop. I stopped at 20 days. In fact, I'm probably a fail actually, although I did all 20 days. The last few I failed to upload to the Facebook group on there. I will get them up there at some point for you to have a look at on it. Now, if you took part, please send me your images. What would be great is if you can just zip them up and then we transfer the whole lot to me. I can then make both a slideshow to share them with everybody else, and I can then provide feedback on them as part of the live stream. So WeTransfer is my preferred method for getting them on there. And I'm going to start tonight with 2 Lockdown 20 challenge sets. The first is the images from Bernard Robinson. Now, you won't have seen any of Bernard's images on the Facebook group because he's not on Facebook. But every day he's been sending me his photos for the challenge. And I've now put them together as a live stream. And I really like what Bernard's done. So let me play you the video of that, and then I'll talk about a few of Bernard's images after that. So here we go, if I've got it set up right. Thank you, Bernard, for submitting those photos, and I've really enjoyed looking at them. And I think it's a great story of Bernard's lockdown on there. And there are one or two images I just want to point out and draw attention to. I have a real favourite in this one, the newspaper, the book. It's a lovely sort of still life image all put together. I love the slightly muted tones with it, but somehow Bernard's managed to get the extra, it looks like you've got extra light on Her Majesty's face, and it just draws you into the image at that point on there. So lovely shot on that. What others? Yeah, this one. I've, as some of you will know, I've talked a couple of times on the live stream about converting flowers to black and white, and this one works really nicely. I like how it's the one just below the one, just near the 1/3 line. It's not central. It's off center with it, and that works really well. Nice contrast on there. I think this might be a phone photo from the aspect ratio. I might be wrong on that, but it works well, Bernard. Well done on it. There's a couple of others just worthy of comment. We were talking about home abstracts, and this one I quite like, just the reflection of it. And I'm not sure, but have we got a reflection of the photographer in there? I can't quite tell on that. I'm wondering whether there might be in there with it. And another one just to comment about is this, and I recognise that. I think that's on the side of the supermarket in the middle of Poynton, if I'm not much mistaken, on there. The reason why I want to comment about this is to point out to everyone one of the things that Bernard's done with this. He's either managed to get the camera absolutely flat on to that, so there's no distortion, or he's corrected it in post-production. Either way, absolutely spot on with it. So I see so many of these where they're just slightly crooked, or the verticals are slightly turning in, or even worse, they're slightly turning in and crooked, and this one isn't. So it's worthy of praise on there. And one last one. I could go on about a lot of these, Bernard, but I'm not going to. There's this. I just like the shallow depth of field on this. I would say with it, it is one. Have I got the shooting data? Let's have a look on this. F2.8. Yeah, I would say with this, you could afford to go up to a wider depth of field, a smaller aperture on it. Let me just have a look at the EXIF on this. There we go. Right, yeah, it's on the Panasonic. Yes, of course, it's the Panasonic. I remember Bernard telling me that. Right, there's a slight softness to it, and I think that might be because of the very shallow depth of field with it on there. So I would say you could go to f8. Maybe f11 on this. You would have to up the ISO a bit to do that, and I suspect, looking at this, you're shooting at a 13th of a second, so I'm assuming you were on tripod anyway, in which case you could go to that that smaller aperture and just have a longer exposure with it on that one. So, but I like the composition with it. It's that the mutedness on it. I have a temptation to up my vibrance and saturation on these, but this one really works with it as it is. So thank you, Bernard, for submitting those and completing the challenge. And I hope that the challenge has helped you and given you something to think about with the whilst doing it. Right, now let me go over to here, and I just need to change a display. Right, right, yeah. Let's move on. Home abstracts, that's our theme for this evening. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to look at a number of images and I'm just going to talk you through how I made them and some of the things to look for. Hopefully this will inspire you to have a go yourselves if you haven't already done so. If something I talk about tonight does inspire you and you do have a go at it, do make sure you pop it in the Facebook group so that we can all see what you've been working on with it. So I want to start with this image. Now this was the image I used, or a variant of it anyway, for the thumbnail for the live stream. How was it created? Well, here you can see the first part of it. The forks are actually held in place, as you might have guessed, by blobs of plasticine. I have a supply of plasticine here at the studio for jobs just like this. I've also put them on a box just to raise them up very slightly. And that box was on a table, and that allowed me to position my height so that where the forks were and the shadows fell, I could position, by changing the camera height, I could move up or down to change that relative position between them. So how was it lit? Well, I mean, first, another thing just to say is notice that those forks are all skew with different angles, not only different angles left and right, but different angles in terms of tilting away from the camera as well and things like that. That's just to try and make the shadows look a little bit more interesting. And I just used 2 off-camera speed lights, and all I've done with them is I put a bit of gel on there to give different colours. Now in this particular example that you can see, it's a red gel and a blue gel that I've put on there. And if you don't have gels, well, why not? But no, seriously, if you don't have gels, there are a couple of things you can use instead. The one I do is, I think this is still the case, Quality Street. They come with a little bit of foil, a little bit of transparent plastic wrapping around them, sweet wrappers. And if you take the foil off, you've got this little piece of coloured gel. And I have a few of them that I think they're still in my camera bag as emergency gels. I can just stick them on the front of a speed light just to colour it. That's not what I was doing here. These are a couple of gels I nicked from a local theatre. Well, I say nicked. I begged for them. I asked if there was any going spare, and they gave me a nice supply. It's how I get most of my gels, to be honest, because I do a lot of work with theatres. So that's what I was using. But when we go through your images, there was one person, and I'll come to it, came up with a very, very clever solution to not having gels for lighting a photograph during the week, and one I would never have thought of. But I'll talk about that later. So you just set it up like that, and then it's just a case of changing the colours of the gels, changing the angles of the speed lights. You'll notice one is on the box and one is below, and that's again one of the reasons why I raised the forks up, so I could have a light from lower down and one from slightly higher up to get those different angles with it. and as they cross over each other, you get these interesting patterns that I showed you earlier on there. But even something like a collection of mugs. Here you go, just a set of mugs on the floor. Well, it actually is the floor of my studio rather than the home floor, but you could use a kitchen floor or whatever for this. And I positioned them in an S shape, and I was trying to make something a little bit more interesting than that. And I tried a few things with it, and eventually some of the techniques I got with the forks, I thought that will work with the mugs to make it a little bit more interesting. And this is what I came up with. And the way I've done it with this is, well, first of all, I've lit it with speed lights, but the speed light camera left has got a blue gel on it, and that gives that sort of edge to the mugs. The one right, I've actually downplayed a little bit. First of all, it means that the mugs don't blow out, but also it means that the floor is not quite as bright as the original shot. And I thought, well, we need a point of focus. And with a lot of abstracts, whenever you're doing abstracts with multiple objects, you really need to try and find something which gives the viewer a point of focus. So I've done two things with this image. First of all, I filled up one of the cups with tea and put the spoon in there, but can you see I've also added a specific light just onto that. I've used a snoot to highlight that one mug within the collection there, so that one's brighter than anything else, so that the viewer has got a focal point on it. Now, with hindsight, I'd like to have moved it a little bit more central, so it was central but on the 1/3 line with it. Another example using, again, coloured gels is this photo of the screws. That's them without the coloured gels. It's an okay abstract shot, but adding a couple of speed lights off camera with triggers and two gels on there give a really interesting, a much more dynamic look to it. The shadow play in there. We've got orange on one side and a bluey light on the other, and it gives this wonderful sort of golden effect with it. So just two speed lights opposite sides coming in on there. Again, using the same idea, I've created something like this. Now, what is this? Those of you who work in studios, and I know there's one or two of you on who watch the live stream who do, this is a strip box with the egg crate grid on there. And what I've done is I pushed into the back of it a speed light with a red gel. That gives the red behind there, but that wasn't sufficient. I needed a highlight colour, an opposite colour, so I got a speed light with a blue gel and put that camera left and shone that across it, and that gives that little bit of blue highlighting that you can see on the grid there to create this this abstract effect. So I did a similar sort of thing with a beauty dish, and here I've got a green gelled speed light camera right, which is highlighting. You can see the shadow of the center part of the beauty dish on there, but that was okay, but I thought it needed a bit more than that. So I used the same technique and put a speed light through it from behind with a gel on. And this is what I got. And if you look very carefully, you can see there's the speed light with the gel on just peeking through, but you've got a sort of coloured. You've got the green from the exterior and the orange from the outer one. Sorry about the slight pause there. I got one of those annoying Facebook notifications come up, and it appeared on my screen, but it was talking about video, and it was in bold caps. It said, make sure your volume is up. And I thought for a moment I got a problem with the live stream and that something had gone wrong with it, but it wasn't. And I spotted the name on there, and I know the name of the person who keeps sending me slightly spammy videos. And this one was obviously with a capitals, make sure the volume is up one. Sorry for the distraction on there. Right. Yeah, so we've got that light going across there, and that gives that two-colour effect on there to create the abstract effect on that image. Another way of creating abstracts at home. This is an image of mine that I've put up here a few times. My image called "I Am an Individual," my jelly baby shot, which was created on a light box. And a little bit of post-production work actually on this one as well. On there. Now with this, I've got primary light source at the front, but I've put it on a light box. Let me show you the lighting setup, and it'll explain it a little bit better. So here's the setup. This was at home. And I've got my main light is a small softbox, and it's the actual the light there's one of my very first studio lights. It's Jessup's own brand light with minimal control, full power, half power, quarter power, that and off. And those were the settings on there, and I just pointed it up at the ceiling to give a very, very soft light on it with that, but I've got the light from the light box coming through, so I've got effectively lighting from both sides on it. So here we go, that's the light box. I've also got a grey card on there so that I could get the colours right with it. And I don't know whether you can see it on there. You might just be able to under where my mouse is, but there's a sheet of acetate on top of the light box. And I always do that when I'm using a light box to protect it so that I don't get dust on it from the sweets or juice from fruit, as you'll see in one of the other images I'm about to show you. So here you can see a shot that I did. It was those sweet letters. I'm rather partial to those actually. I very rarely see them for sale. But this one, the light was primarily from the front, so I pushed up the output from the studio light, from the head through the softbox, but there's still a little bit of light from behind through the light panel on there. Now the next one's completely the opposite way round, where the only light source is the light panel on this one. It was quite a long exposure with it to do it. So I just wanted the light coming through these very thin slices of kiwi fruit that I'd arranged on there. Gives a lovely pattern effect on there. Now you might say, well, I haven't got a softbox. I haven't got a light box like that I could use. Well, what else could you do? Well, I've got a number of options for you. You could create your own. A sheet of glass or perspex with a piece of white paper over the top of it and put a light underneath or a speed light underneath. That could do it as well. If it's something that you can have vertically, you could just use a window, a bit of white paper attached to it, or white material. That would work there. Or always on light and fill the frame. Always on. Oh yes, yeah. I think I'm trying to remember what I meant when I wrote that. I only wrote it yesterday as well. Yeah, you could get a piece of paper and put a light behind it and shine through that way on it. Or you could just put objects on a piece of white paper and then use in post-production, highlight the, bring the highlights up. The other technique you could use, and I've not done it so much with laying objects on because it's not a solid surface, but you could use a softbox itself. If you've got a studio light, big softbox, that can act as that white background for light passing through things. The sort of things I've done with that, I showed you last week the spiders and the things like that, the bodyscapes are done that way on there. So here's an example of using a window light. In this case, what I've actually got is a roller blind, white roller blind, which happened to have a little pattern on it. And I've tilted the camera to get these are actual hands for washing up gloves on there. And it just creates an interesting abstract image against the window. This was the one, this is what I was meaning about an always on light and fill the frame. If you've got something that's translucent, like a circuit board, and what I did here is I got, it's actually a studio light that these days gets used for video. It was a tungsten always on light. I just had it sat up on a stand and held the circuit board in front of it, so there was light shining through it, and I just cropped in, sort of framed in on the thing, so the circuit board itself had this glow to it. It was how that one was created. White paper, here we go, just placed the paper clips on there, and then in post-production I brought up the highlights to make sure it was white, and I did that. And interestingly, this photo, the red paper clip, I have sold this image several times as a stock image. Would you believe it? Sometimes for over, I think at one point I sold it for $200. You'd never get that kind of money for this sort of shot these days. But going back when stock photography was worth something, a red paper clip on a bit of white paper sold for that amount. Incredible, really. But then when you think about it, what are people paying for? They're paying for the photographer's skill and time, because you might say, well, a paperclip, you could pick one of those up for under £1 for a few pence and put it on any bit of photocopier paper. But you try photographing that and getting it to stand out like that. It's not as easy as it sounds. And also, there's an edit going on with there as well, because those paper clips, when you actually zoom in that much, the plastic coating on the metal isn't actually as smooth as it looks on there, so it all needs editing. So maybe $200, it would have cost somebody more than that in terms of their time to try and achieve it. So anyway, just thought that was an interesting little aside for you. Here's another interesting one. Some of you may know how this is done. This is an oil on water shot, and at some point, one of the live streams, I will do this live in the studio to show you how it's done. But basically, you get a glass dish with a flat bottom, ideally, preferably one that hasn't got Pyrex printed on the bottom of it. And that's actually really hard to achieve. You need one that's a smooth, clean, clear bottom. Stand it on a couple of blocks, and then you put underneath it something which has got a pattern on it. And I've used here, this is actually, you know those plastic envelopes with a bag in for you to put stuff out for charities? It's one of those which happened to have the Union flag on it. So I used that, which gave me the red, white and blue colours. And you look down above, swirl the oil on the water a little bit, and you get these circles forming. And with a macro lens, you zoom in, focus on the oil surface, and you get this effect. You don't focus on the thing below. You focus on the surface of the water, and you get these sort of effects. And things like this, so almost planetscape type things, really interesting type shots. I think that was just a page out of a magazine that I tore out and put below, just to give me those sort of colours on there. And again, that red, white and blue, you can see the Union flag a little bit better there. And if you look in closely on, say, one of there, you can actually see it in quite detail. And it's just a lovely effect. So it's worth having a try on that. And at some point, I'll do a live demo of it here on the live stream to show you how that works. One thing to think about, though, when you are doing these sort of home abstracts, one way of creating an interesting abstract or interesting image at home is to think about the angle you're shooting from. And you can take the most mundane of things and create a really interesting shot by just photographing it from a non-standard angle. And the more unusual that angle, the better. And you already saw that just by tilting the camera on those wire hands made for an interesting shot. Let me show you a few examples. So here, this is one of my Lockdown 20 images, and it's clock. And rather than photographing straight on, I deliberately went to the side, which gives me the shallower depth of field where the 11 is out of focus and the attention is really drawn in to the 12 on there and the time coming up. And it just makes it much more interesting than the straight on shot with that. Or what about a cheese grater? Now, I know there's been a few of these sort of grater shots going around on the Facebook group recently. Mine was done over 10 years ago. I did this shot of a cheese grater. And basically, how did I do it? What I did, I put the camera on the floor, on its back, pointing upwards, and I just stood the cheese grater on top of it and used a remote trigger. And I had a flash pointing up at the ceiling to get the light or that sort of area, so that bright light came in to illuminate the inside through the holes on it. And then I thought, well, maybe I need to add a little bit of cheese for a point of interest in there. I'm not sure it worked as well as the other one, but try that sort of thing as well. Anything that you can view inside. There's also nice. I've seen people do similar things by putting their camera inside the washing machine, so wide angle lens, so it looks like the view of the washing looking out. Just remember, don't switch the machine on when you do that, but that can give you an interesting shot. Or coming in, just home-based macros, or something like this. Is it an abstract? Maybe. I would say it sort of is, but that we don't look at taps like that. We don't look at droplets like that. So this was, it was a close-up, it was a macro shot. I used a high ISO on there. I did also use a speed light, and I had just had it bouncing off the ceiling as I'm wont to do to give me that soft light covering the area. And what about this one? Any ideas what it is? It's the kettle. It's we've got one of these. We tend to buy the completely transparent kettles, and this was after it had boiled, the condensation on the inside. You can just about see the scale on the top right there on that, and it's an okay image as droplets go, but I can make that a bit more interesting. And this is what I then did with it. And what's the orange on there? Well, I can't quite remember what I did, but I think it's the tungsten under cupboard lights in the kitchen. By switching that on, that's the orange, and then the blue is the blue LED. So the kettle was definitely switched on and boiling at this point, because it always glows blue when it's doing that. And this particularly works because with colour theory, as I'm sure you know, orange and blue are opposite, so they're great colours to put together in an image. That's why sort of classic nighttime images work, because you've got the orange tungsten lighting typically, with the fading blue lights, like gold and blue going well together on there. So you've got that, and you've got something like this, a custard cream. So, oh, it appears to be broken. Oh well. Yeah, I bit off more than I intended there, sorry. But, excuse me. Oh, that one backfired. Right, yeah, that close-up shot, that filling the frame, is fine, but it's a little bit boring. It's much more interesting to have the shot with the bite out of it, as you can see on there. Except don't bite out of it whilst trying to do a live stream in on that. And actually, it did take me a couple of goes to get one that looked as though it had a bite out of it. Not that I was trying particularly hard. I thought, oh dear, I really must try with the next one on this. So yeah, those are just some ideas on abstracts and things you can shoot at home. I hope you found it interesting and giving you some ideas of things to have a go at. Right, now let's move on to our Lockdown 20 challenge. And this is the second one for the evening. And this one is from Peter. And he's called it A Taste of Planchado. I hope I've pronounced that right, Peter. I've been avoiding saying the name of your town because I'm not quite sure the pronunciation of it. So A Taste of Planchado is my attempt at it. My French isn't good, so my apologies if I've butchered the name there. But here we go. Here is Peter's Right, thank you, Peter, for that Taste of Planchado. I think from the correction in the chat on there. So let's have a look at these images, and again, I'll try and just pick out a few that are worthy of comment, or that well, they're all worthy of comment, but I just want to talk about. And right, yeah, the flower, nice shot. I would actually make one suggestion on this, Peter, and that is go with a square crop on this one, and I bring that in and on because it's more or less circular, so that should work nicely on there. And I would probably bring the texture up with it and a little bit on the clarity like that, and I would go with something like that, maybe even a little bit more on the vibrance there. It's a lovely shot. I just think it just needs that little bit more to help it on there. So that's the Lightroom way of doing it, and I'm sure the same sort of controls will be available to you in, I think you use Affinity, don't you, on there. I mean, there's some lovely shots here, and I like this. I like how you've got the strong diagonal, that vein going through there with it. So nice concept with that, Peter, on that. And the birds flying. Now, you had another shot the same day, which was the plane. I think the plane is the stronger shot than this, but it's still interesting to see the patterns of the birds in the sky on there. I do quite like this as well. And my suggestion with something like this, though, is you've got it lit from the front. If it's still possible to keep the background dark and get the light in from behind, that would be quite interesting with that. But the idea of just picking up that detail of a bit of lovely crusty bread, I could taste that. I could taste that bread. And a real favourite here. I love these sort of texture type shots. I try and avoid getting the knot quite so far in the middle. I'd move it up just slightly if it was possible, so it's on a 1/3 thing. So if I don't know which corner to go from. I would be aiming to get it in that sort of position relatively on there, but I would try and do it without cropping as I have, but just do it as a in camera to get it into that place, but go a little bit wider. I like the full concept, the full size of it, but just the positioning, I think just needs a little bit more. There are just a few little points on there. Overall, it's a lovely set, and as you say, a nice, as I said, it's a taste of Planchado. My apologies for doing the soft CH rather than the harsh CH, as you've corrected me in the chat on there. But good set. Right, okay, let me head back over to here. I just want to have a check at the chat at this point. Right, so we have yeah, in the chat, what's going on? Yeah, nothing particularly new on there other than a question, which, if I remember what my next slide is, yes, Q&A live part 2, so I'll deal with it at this point. What have we got in the chat? Question from Gary Platt. How does the manual version of chromatic aberration button work in Lightroom? Right. Okay, let me head over to Lightroom and try and show you this. I'm trying to find an image on which I can do this on in here. Right, I'll pick this up on one of my images. So what have we got? Oh, portraits. One of my portrait ones should do this. try and find one that this is going to show up on. Oh, these aren't full-size ones. Those aren't going to do it. Right, hang on, I've got an idea. Gary, some of your images. Oh dear, no, then I need full res to do this. Oh my God, there's got to be something. Some of the Lightroom Challenge ones in here. Don't know whose these are, but let me try and find one that's likely to work to show this. Here we go, this one. I have full screen, not full screen, develop module, lose down there, and I'm hoping, yeah, right. We've got, and I'm gonna go full screen on my thing so you can see a little bit better. Now, this isn't too bad on here. I thought I saw a little bit of chromatic aberration. Yeah, I can. There's just a little hint of it here. I don't know whether you can see it. You might need to go full screen with the video to see this, but there's a little bit of a blue edge on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down to lens corrections, and instead of doing the profile, I'm going to go into manual, and what we've got here is an amount for both the two. And if I just go all the way up, you should see it's not showing that. Why is it not showing it? Not necessarily a good image to do it on. I tend to find that no. I think this might be one of those where I definitely need. So I'm not seeing chromatic aberration appearing on that one, and I thought I would. I was trying to put it in to show you how I could take it out, but right, okay, I'm going to admit defeat on this one, Gary, and what I'll do is I'll find an image during the week, and I'll answer this one next week once I've got an image where I can show what's going on properly. It just happens that I haven't got an image to show it on in here. So sorry I can't do that one. But whilst we're here, I've got another question from Terry, who has sent me an image, and he said, when you see something like this, how much of the context should you capture? Should he have captured more of the wall? Right. This image. Now, the context depends on what you're trying to say about your image. The reason you were photographing this was because you'd spotted Mr. Potato Head in an unusual location. And I think the location is key to this. So therefore, yes, you need to capture it. How you capture it is the key to making it work. The problem you've got is when it's something relatively small like this and you want to show as much of the wall as possible, then the detail disappears. The very thing that you want to make your subject disappears, Mr. Potato Head. So there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, avoid bullseyeing it in the middle. Move it off to a 1/3. Now, I think Terry sent me the image, so I'm going to see if I can find it in here. Yes. yeah, it's not quite full res, but I've got a fair bit of it. So right, let's go over. Yeah, with something like this, the context is important. So what I would have done with it is, first of all, I'd have tried to get it on the 1/3 line rather than in the middle. So I'd move him more over to this end. So I would actually, the left-hand side's not giving me anything, so I'd move him to there, which would give me more of the wall on one side. Now, depending on what the wall looked like, I might move him on 1/3 top and bottom as well. And that helps it work, and that gives you a context to it by just moving him off to one side. He's hidden in the wall, you can see him clearly. But more than that, what I would do with a shot like this, and I can only sort of simulate it a little bit in here, is I would do it with I'm going to do it with the transform, but you would actually have to do it with camera. Remember that clock image that I had, where I said I shot from one side and focused on the fingers so that the 12 was in focus and everything else went out of focus? I would be tempted with this to do more of the same. So I would come round more around this sort of side of the figure and shoot along the wall, which allows you to put more of the wall in, but without it taking up as much space in the composition, because it's disappearing off into infinity, or further off into your image. So basically, what you would get is you see it's stretching it too much. It's not going to work on here. I was just trying to simulate it, and it's not doing it. But basically, you just have the wall going off into the distance, and that gives you your context in there. But how much of the context do you need? You need enough to be able to tell the story. And the story here is, what the hell is Mr. Potato Head doing in the middle of a dry stone wall? And the answer is, we have absolutely no idea on that, why he's there. The first thing I would think about when I see something like that is, I get my phone out and say, is that a geocache that's been placed there? But I guess not, because geocaches are normally hidden rather than drawing attention to themselves. So that's there. Yeah, right, okay. So move. So image feedback. Let's have a look at your images now in Lightroom. So let me find all that. And no. Right. Oh. There we go. Right. Okay. I'm going to go through some of your images from the Facebook group. Mainly, these are images which are patterned ones that people have done, but there's a couple of other images I just wanted to mention as we're going through. This one from Peter, sort of tyre track one. I can't remember whether I mentioned it last week or not, but I love the idea. And this is the sort of thing, Terry, that I was talking about with your shot, where you have the part in focus, you'd have Mr. Potato Head in focus here, and allow the wall in the distance going off, but obviously on its side sort of thing. With that, but really nice shot there, Peter. Nice bit of viewing on that. Then Karen had some fire on hers as an abstract. I think with this, Karen, I think we need to sort of just tighten it up a little bit with it. One of the problems with photographing fire is it does tend to make things look blurred. Because what you focus on, and I think with this, you may have ended up, the camera may have focused on the smoke rather than on the coals, because they do look slightly out of focus on there, and it just needs a a little bit more, maybe dehaze on it and clarity, something to help it bite on there with that. So yeah, okay. I really like this one of Helen's, a pincushion, and the fact that it's just part of a cushion. And this is one where one of the things with images that make a good composition is a strong diagonal. And there's two strong diagonals here. There's an explicit one and there is an implicit one. The explicit strong diagonal is this one, the edge of the pincushion along there. But there is an implicit diagonal as well, and that is the transition from background through cushion through into the pins. And there's something that takes your eye in that direction as well. So there's an implicit diagonal there that really just makes this one work. Love the square crop on it. I suspect this is a phone image because, or maybe, no, maybe not. I don't know whether Facebook's screwed it up, but the resolution on there is a bit noisy on it. But if the original is sharp on there, that is an absolutely cracking shot and a great concept on there. Right, Peter, going back to, I touched on this a little bit before with the idea when you've got a group of things, you need a point of focus within that group. And this one sort of kind of lacks that hero image. It's a nice shot. There are a couple of things I would do with it. I would make it an even tighter shot on here, so we haven't got the edges. So I'm bringing it in to something more like that. I would have then chosen something like that black one to be my hero and stood that up against there and then framed it so it was in the third position. Think back to my Jelly Baby shot. You've got a hero in there. You've got one that's drawing your attention. And the black is the one that's drawing the attention. And if you got that to here and made that the point of focus, that would have really worked. And I think having it tighter in as well works. The anarchist in me would be looking to see if I could pick out some words with all the different pairs of letters as well, but I can't see anything that would work on that. But think about your hero. Whenever you've got a repetition shot, ask yourself the question, where's my hero within that shot? And I think it should be the black one, but because it's flat, it's kind of not working on that. But the concept's good, just needs that little bit push on it. Neil, nice shot here. Ice patterns on a window, and I love the sort of the leafiness of it. Works really well on there. I think that would be stunning at full resolution on there. Does it need a little bit more texture to it? I'm not sure. And maybe a little bit more exposure. Just a fraction. What? 2/3 of a stop maximum on that. Something along those sort of lines with it. And then would the clarity maybe just to help bring that contrast out in it on there. But a lovely idea in that one. This one of Robin's, I love this shot. This is so clever to use the property of the glass in the bottle to diffuse the light. We've all done the thing with the pyramids, the school thing, and Robin here has put light through there to create these patterns in the background. And I think this is just a stunning shot and really inventive and something I wouldn't have thought of. I'm still trying to work out exactly where the light source is on this, and I'm not sure whether Robin's done a painting with light job on it where you use a torch or whether it's a speed light or what on there. And it's not often I'm stumped at trying to work out light sources on this. But however you've done it, Robin, and I think you're watching, stick a comment in the live chat. Let us know, because that is a wonderful shot. And if you put a comment on that, I'll talk about what you say a little bit later. Another one of these ice pattern ones. This time John has done it, and he's. I'm going to get the whole thing in. And he's gone monochrome with it, which works really well. I like that. And he's brought the texture out with it. Works really well on there. Another one from Peter. This idea of picking a little detail on a pair of running shoes would be my guess on this. As ever, we've got this problem. I have this problem every time I photograph something in macro. There's always this little hair that gets in there. On there, so just watch that sort of thing. Little tip for you when you're doing these sort of shots: set it up, take the shot, then look at it on the back of your camera at maximum zoom in on the back, and just gradually work your way through looking for those, because the moment you put it on the computer you'll find one, and then you've taken everything apart, and just gives you that chance to see it on there. But nice concept. The contrasting colours work, and the texture and everything on that. And another really clever shot here from Peter. I'm assuming this is one of those sort of crystal ball light reflector things which are on sale, just balanced on two forks, and I'm guessing lit with two different colour flashes on there. My OCD is getting the better of me with it. The one thing I would have done though is make sure that this join between the two forks lined up with the fold in the fabric that you got on there. That's the only thing I would change on there. And possibly you might need to clean your sensor by the looks of it. There's some dirt on there, little dots on that, so just watch that for the future. It might need cleaning. John, again, this is a really inventive shot. A whole load of loo rolls lit with a red light at the front, and I thought it was a blue light from behind, but now looking at it, I think it is a white light behind. And I said, when I was talking about gels, there are ways to get effects, gelled effects, if you haven't got them. I mentioned the sweet wrapper. This was the other one. If you haven't seen the photo, the behind the scenes photo that John posted in the Facebook group, have a quick guess now at what you think the method was that John used to get the red coloured light. And I bet that you would, in a month of Sundays, you wouldn't come up with this as being the solution. Speed light through a bottle of fairy liquid. That is pure genius, John. So absolutely brilliant, well done and well thought through. And I'm nicking that idea. When I next write about doing these sort of abstracts, I'm going to set this one up and do the behind the scenes shot for it, just to show how it's done. The other thing to say about this is notice the box there. That box, I am sure, is not there by accident. That box is flagging the light so it doesn't go onto the background. That's making sure that this light only illuminates the front. So again, absolutely brilliant, John. Well done, and thank you for submitting that to the group. Now, this is an interesting one, Peter. Every time I look at it, I think I know how it's done. I thought initially it was a reel of twine, and then I thought, no, that's not a reel of twine. It's something, and you've done the intentional blur of turning the camera as you've taken the shot. And I don't know what it is you were pointing at, and it might not even have been that colour, but the whole thing has worked. I keep thinking it's twine, but now I look at it, I'm sure it isn't. You've done something a little bit clever on there. Let's try and make that a little bit bigger for people to see. Yeah, you're up to something there, and I don't quite know what. Some jam. Again, details like that creates an abstract sort of look. I like this one of Helen's. It's a window frame, as far as I can work out, with the sun coming through, and it's obviously either dirty or painted on there. But the framing on it is absolutely superb. The third line-ish at the top there for the bar. Yes, we can center it then down there, and the sun in one of the quarters there. But I'll tell you what I thought when I first looked at it. I don't have the channel to be able to watch it, but I've seen a lot of the publicity images for the series The Mandalorian, and I thought it was a close-up of the helmet from that when I first saw it. No, I really, really like that shot. It's superb. The colours and the warmth of it and everything. Well done. Right, Gary, I don't know whether you're watching this, but you've been driving me mad with this one. I thought this was a close-up of a hand drill, you know, where the two cogs go together. And he said, no, it's in the kitchen. So I thought, right, it's an egg whisk type of thing, where again the handle and the things. And he said, no, it's not. And now looking at it, there's bits of dirt or something on there. I've no idea what this is, Gary. Come on, put me out of my misery and tell me what it actually is, because I don't know on that. This was the sort of thing I thought that swirly image of Peter's was, the purple one. I thought it was twine like this, but going all the way in on there. So nice shot. Interesting decision, Helen, to put it the way up that you have with the text upside down. I don't know whether that's because you're trying to hide the text or not, but my eye's drawn to it, and immediately I want to do this. I want to be able to read what's in there. It's to do with crocheting, users of lot, various things going on inside there. Now, what I would do, if the reason is to hide the text, I would do it this way. I would use an adjustment brush, okay, on there, and I will go with a flow right down, really feathered, and I would take the exposure and the shadows fair way down on there, and then I would just start to paint on just enough to darken it. And because the flow is low on there, I can control just how dark it goes. Let me go full screen, and if I just turn this off and on, you can see how that's made a little bit of difference on there, and I can just paint it on and off. Turn it on again, turn it on, and I can just keep going until it's as dark as it's not going to then distract. And we've got this little bit of a bright edge down here, so I just start darkening that as well, just along there, and similarly here, and just keep going over until it's dark. Because I've got that low flow, I can just keep controlling it and building it up as I want. I don't like this little white edge down here, so I would just crop that in there, and maybe I would then just match that up on the other side. So that darkening of the edge I didn't need to do really, but something like that I think works really well. So there we go on that. And next, moving along. Yeah, Nick, I don't know whether you watch these. One thing I would do with this is I try to square it up. Now you can do that in camera by making sure that the camera is straight on to the subject. I'd also expose it a little bit more. Oh, excuse me. And here in Lightroom, there's a couple of ways I could do that. I could do it with the transform tool, and if I go auto, it should, ooh, doesn't like it. No, I'll do it with the guided then. I'll go from that edge down there, needs to be straight, there, down to there, and then smell it across there, needs to be straight, and so across there should be straight as well. Having got all that, I can then choose a crop. Actually, I quite like having just the edges of them there, so I want to balance that up, and I'd probably do the same on the bottom and top, like that. And I would do it something like that as an abstract. The other thing I would consider with something like this is either doing that, well, let me just reset this. The other one, again, let me just do the exposure up. Rather than trying to line it up, what you can do is you can deliberately decide you're going to go off, and making sure it's definitely off straight also works just as well. So that would be a case of just tilt the camera round to create that kind of effect. So moving on. And a texture shot really from Peter there. Watch your exposures, Peter, with that. It's a little bit underexposed, I reckon, on there. About 2/3 of a stop underexposed with it, largely because straw is quite light coloured. Your camera would see all that and try to make it a mid-tone, which actually underexpose it a little bit. So think about using exposure compensation just to brighten that very slightly on there. And one of those greater shots from Peter. Now, I believe Peter was using a torch on this, and we've got some sort of posterization going on that I'm not over fond of with that. He mentioned it being a theatre torch. I know exactly what that is. That's a torch with some blue gel over it, just to so that when you're using them in the wings, prompts and stage managers tend to use them. It doesn't shine off into the onto the stage in dark scenes, things like that. Yeah, what's your focus point on that one, Peter? It's something a little bit weird going on, especially with the solarization on it. I suspect you've oversaturated it. Not a lot I can do to recover that off this version of the thing. Again, another interesting texture from Peter Saltiel. I'd like to see a bit more clarity in there and texture into it to really make it stand out on there. And again, just a fraction more exposure. Again, same problem. The lighter areas, the camera's seen all those and tried to underexpose it for you. So just be aware of that. Right, now this photo from Anthony. I'm going to try something here. I know Anthony doesn't have access to tools like Lightroom. I'm going to try and do the edit on this because he was asking for feedback using Snapseed. So I'm going to go over there. Now, this is going to just take me a moment to set this up because I need to get this going. That's allegedly going at the moment. Why? Oh, right, okay. We've got a few comments as well. I'll pick the comments up later. Right, let me get this up on my screen. Yep, it's on there. Why is it not up on my big screen? It's probably needing... Yes, we've got it. Oh, right, okay. So now, what I'm going to do is, come on, rotate. Oh, right. I've got this one set up. Where are we? Here we go. I'm using Snapseed. There we go. Right. And because the reason I'm doing it with this for you, Anthony, Snapseed's a free app. I'm doing it on an iPhone. It's also available on Android phones. I know you're Android. So what we can do with this is we've got various tools to sort this out. And I'm going to go over here to the tools. The first thing is the rotate because I want to sort out the horizon. And I'm using my finger just to straighten that horizon up on there. So I say OK on that. I think I got that straight. Now, with a shot like this, you really want to try and get that horizon closer to the third line. So I'm going to crop it to achieve that. So crop tool is here. And I'm actually going to, I'll do a free crop, which means I should then be able to just bring that in. And you see we've got a guide there. So I'm just bringing that up to about there on that. Let me say OK. So that's now looking a little bit better. Next thing I want to do with this is to deal with those shadows at the bottom, the fact that it's all in shadow, and try and pull some of that information out. So tune image. Hoping you're all seeing this on the display. I need to keep looking at other things as I'm doing it. So I'm going to go onto here and yeah, I think you are seeing it. All shadows. So the shadows, I'm using my finger going up to select what I want. Now, moving my finger left and right means I can bring those up, just so we see a little bit more detail in there. Now I've done that, I think I can bring the highlights down. Where are the highlights? There we go. Just bring them down a little bit to try and capture that. And you can see the difference. As I just touch it, it goes between one before and after with that. So now I want to try and get as much detail as I can in the sky. So I'm going to look on here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of ambience in there. So again, just bring that up. That's the equivalent of clarity in Lightroom. Now, what I need to do, because I've done that, those shadows are too high. So I'm just going to bring those down a little bit more now. And warmth, a little bit of, let's warm this up. This is your white balance. So bring up that in there. So that's starting to get something that's working. So I'm going to say OK on there. And let's look at some more tools I've got available. And this time I'm going to have a look at the detail on here. So with detail, I've got structure. And as I bring that up, it just sort of brings out detail in there. So we've got something like that. And then finally, with it. We just need those corners darkening. So a vignette. And where are the vignettes in here? There we go, a vignette. And, oh, right. And to darken it down just enough. And I can move that point around as to where I want the center point being on it. Oh, we've gone too far. Right. Outer brightness, go down a bit. And now inner brightness, you can actually, this is doing, oh. Having a little bit of trouble here. I keep hitting that dot and it's doing weird things with it. Outer brightness. Let's bring it down to something like that. That's a bit too far. I think that's about the best I can do. Now, there is another problem with this image, Anthony, and that is all the dirt on the window of presumably a coach that you were on. And I'll give you a couple of tips for trying to deal with those sort of things when you're taking the shots. One way is, it looks like you've got your camera and if here was the window, it looks like you're just sort of away from it a little bit. The trick being, get your camera as close as possible. Now, here's the thing to watch. If my window was here and I put my camera there, the camera's this end of the phone, so it's further away. The thing to do, this is going to do some weird things I think on the screen at the moment. If I put it that way round, so the camera here now becomes closer to the window, and that hopefully would reduce the number of reflections. And you just got to try and find that angle where the closer you are, the more those are going to be out of focus, that dirt that's on there. So that was what I wanted to try and achieve with that. Now I need to get my display back to something that I can work with. I think the easiest way to do it, actually, let's do that. No, not that. Do that. Ah, no, it's not that I need to do. No. Move that out the way. So I've got so many windows going on here, on there. Right, okay. Where's my Lightroom gone now? Down here. Right, so that was the original, and can I then go? No, I can't go between, or can I go between the two to show you? From that to there. So my edit to the original. Yeah, it's marginal. I think what the scene lacks is a little bit of foreground interest, to be perfectly honest on it. And now the more I look at it, what I thought was an interesting steeple in the background is actually just a telegraph pole. So yeah, there's not a lot more I could do on that one. But let's move on with these. Peter, sugar in a bowl. Now this is one that I said about sand dunes. I thought if you photograph this from lower down so that we didn't see the edge of the bowl, this would look like a sand dune. And if you've got a second pile a little bit lower in the background, you'd have a pair of dunes that you could have created out of the sugar. That was what my comment was all about on there. But as it is, I do like it. It's really nice and abstract on there. You're focusing, yeah, I would say focus a little bit further in on it, just more on the edge here, because I think that edge is the point where the eye is being drawn. So I'd be aiming to get the edge in focus and let the rest go out of focus with it. But nice shot. Richard and his partner Laura both did the same shot of the same subject. So Richard did this of their barbecue, a nice abstract tight shot, and this one of Laura's. Now, they both have different merits about them. I love the contrast and the colour on Laura's. I think she's nailed that better than Richard has, but Richard has nailed the cropping better. So Laura, yours needs to be in a little bit tighter as Richard's was, to something like that. I think would work a little bit better for yours. And moving on. Right, Peter, again, these Olympic rings. These are out of focus, Peter. I don't know why. It might be that you're not focusing properly. With something like this, you need a bigger depth of field. I would focus on the back edge of the front rings to achieve it, because that will give you most of the foreground in focus, and you might just get the background as well. Or go to completely the other extreme, make it as shallow as possible, but you need somewhere of sharp focus, and I'm not seeing it in these rings. Gary, great shot. This mirror effect on here, really like that. Very, very well produced on there. It's quite stunning actually with it on there. And the one later using the ND filters, I'd like to have seen an even longer exposure with that, because I'd like to see the clouds moving a bit more, and this area here hasn't blurred as much as I would have liked to have seen it on there. But the post-processing on there is great. A really lovely amount of contrast, nice bit of foreground interest and all that. Slightly bothered a little bit, it's a little bit too close to the edge on the tree there. Maybe just like to see a fraction more on it, but that's a nitpick. A lovely shot. Nice abstract of a wine glass, I'm assuming, Robin, on there. And okay, I don't know quite what's going on with your images, Peter. It's another one that's looking slightly soft on here, and again, I don't know why without the shooting data on there. If you want to retransfer me a couple of the original files of the ones I've said are looking soft, with all the shooting data in, I'll have a bit more of a look at those for you over the week and see if I can work out what's going on there as to why they're just that little bit too soft. There's another slightly soft one, which is a shame because I really like this. I'm assuming, yeah, it's, I don't know what it is that you photograph, whether it's through the netting or it's a textured item, but it's just quite intriguing as a pattern. That would make a great sort of background for a PowerPoint slide type of thing, especially if you're trying to advertise come to the disco, something like that. And I believe it was some form of disco lighting that Bob used to create the coloured light effect. Some sort of tools as well, with that, the same sort of lighting on there. And from Nick, I'm not sure what it is. Again, it's another soft one. I suspect this is camera shake, Nick, if you're watching on there, rather than anything else. Sort of low light, it just needs to be shot under brighter conditions. Also, I'm not quite sure what camera you're using, whether it's a phone or something else, but I think you've got camera shake problems with that. And that's the last one. So let's come back over to here, and let me have a look what's going on in chat. A few things have been going on. Yeah. With this, I just need to lose a few things. Oh. My window. Right, okay, so what we've got, Torch Against the Bottle was Robin's shot for the scattering of light on there. That's great. Peter was, it was a bath mat. And it's a twirl, it's a blur in affinity to create that effect on there. Ah, well done. Right, here's the challenge for you, Peter. Try and do the same in camera rather than doing it in post-production. It is possible. What you need is a long exposure, and you start, the trick is you start turning the camera as you take the shot. So turn, click, and then keep turning through, and you'll get that radial blur on there. So those are the main things on there. So right, let's just finish off on here. Nothing new in the chat. So to wrap up, and don't disappear yet because there's two important things coming up. Thank you everyone for watching and letting me loose on your images. Thank you for posting to the Facebook group. Keep doing that. Do subscribe, comment and like. 16, it's showing on mine finally. If you want to say thank you in a financial way, the link should be somewhere down below on there. And as ever, thank you for Gary for this week's cuppa. Oh, you can't see any of this, can you? Ah, no. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you for that. Don't disappear, folks, yet, because if you want the inspiration sheets, the Academy members, you've got access to them already. You've got access to all 50 of them. Anyone else who gives me a cup of tea this week will get those emailed on there. And this was the thing, the photo of the week for the banner, and I have chosen Robin's bottle of light image, and that's what the banner is going to look like. It's a slightly different crop, Robin. I hope you approve. If you don't, I have a couple of options, but I thought this one showed it off reasonably well, given the restrictions that Facebook puts on banners on there. So I will pick a photo again next week for the following week's banner, and I'll get this one loaded up very, very shortly, and that will be our banner for the week. So thank you, Robin, for that. And so next week, our theme is photography in the rain. I'm going to talk a little bit about using rain in your photography, various ways. I'm not sure whether I'm going to cover the artificial ways or whether I'm just going to restrict myself to the genuine article and how that can affect our photographies, how we cope with protecting our cameras and things like that, as well as how it affects the images that we create. So if you've got photographs taken in the rain, of the rain, simulated rain, anything like that, get them in the Facebook group this week and I'll have a look at them this time next week. So thank you as ever, folks. This was meant to be a short one and it's gone on 2 hours. My apologies for it being so long, folks. I really didn't intend it to be this long. So until next week, folks, keep making great photos and thanks for watching. Bye for now. Right, this is the point I do the alternative ending for the cut down version. So here we go. Thanks for watching this cut down version of In Studio Live. The full version's now in my Academy, details over my shoulder about how to join it, and the link is down below as well. It only costs £6 a month or £60 a year, and you get access to all the resources, all the giveaways I do during the the live stream, get access to all of it as being an Academy member. So hopefully I'll see you in there. So until next time, thanks for watching and keep making great photos. Bye for now.